Hey everyone, Acting Sub Lieutenant Bram here. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to lace your boots and also how to polish them and take care of your catwalks. Items you need besides your issued boots is kiwi polish. You want the shoe polish or parade polish. And then I can also show you guys how to use boot polish or boot cream, I should say. You also need a kiwi cloth or a polishing cloth. You need hot, warm water, not scalding water, because we don't want to burn ourselves. And then we need a small brush or toothbrush that you don't mind ever using again for the catwalks. I have a used boot here, so it is previously polished. And usually when you get your new boots, if they've never been used before, you'll find that they kind of have like a wax finish, protective wax finish to them. If you want to get rid of that, you put your hair dryer or hot gun that blows air on a low setting. And you don't want to hold your hair dryer right onto the boot or your hot gun right onto the boot. You want it to be a fair distance away, but you want it close enough so that the heat gets there just to melt whatever residue is on your boot. Because then you can come in with a cloth or a towel that your parents don't mind being wrecked to wipe off that residue. And then with new boots that have never been used before, they come in matte or dull finish. And we'll get more into that later. When you're polishing your boots, you want to get all leather surfaces, front and back, top to bottom. And you also want to get all of the tongue as much as possible. But if you don't get it all, it's not a big deal. But try and get up as close to this lace, this bottom lace, as possible with polish. And when done correctly, you want to see your face in your boot after you've done polishing because it's so shiny. Okay, so we're going to do some lacing here. And the reason why we do straight lacing is because when you're on a sea vessel or on a lake somewhere and you just so happen to be wearing these boots, these are not water safe. So if you go overboard and you fall into the water, you need to be able to get a knife or sharp object underneath all these laces and cut them, because we don't want you sinking down to Davy Jones' locker and becoming friends with him. We want you alive. So we are going to start with our lacing. So you're going to take your big toe lace and you're going to count 1 hole up and go through. And you will pull it through. And it's going to look like that. And then you're going to take your small toe lace and you're going to count 2 up, 1, 2, so it's the 3rd hole. You're going to go through. And that's what it's going to look like when you're done. And you're going to take your big toe lace and you're going to go across your boot into the 2nd hole on the small toe side. And you're going to go through and you're going to pull. And it's going to be nice and straight. And then you're going to take the outer lace on the small toe side, because you've got the lace that's poking through on the inner side. That's going to stay over here. We're going to deal with that in a second. You take the lace on the small toe side on the outside, and you bring it over to the 3rd hole on the big toe side and put it through. Okay, just like that. Okay, now we've got 3 straight laces. Okay, and on your big toe side, with that lace that's there, we're going to count 2 holes up and go through. And that's what it's going to look like on that side. And then we're going to go back to the small toe side, and we're going to skip a hole because there's a lace already through there. And we're going to go in the next available one. Up from that, through and out. And then with that same small toe side lace that we have, we're going to go to the big toe side, and on the outside and through, and pull it through. And we're going to leave it there for a second. And then we're going to take, and it's going to look like that when you're done. And then we're going to take the lace that's on the outside here on the big toe side, and we're going to cross that over to the small toe side and put it through. And now we've got some lovely straight laces. So the final part that I like to do, because your trousers, when they fit properly, they're going to come and rest about there, about your 4th lace or 3rd lace. If they're any longer than that, ask your supply officer or your DPO on how to hem them, because there is a special way to hem them without wrecking your trousers. So your trouser is going to sit 3rd lace to 4th lace, but we don't, when lacing our boots, I don't like to use that last hole, because when you have gaiters in your higher ranks of petty officer 1st class to chief, you get webbings, which we will talk about later in a different video, that usually cover about that portion of your boot. So that's why I don't like to lace that part. But since our laces are still on the inside of our boot, we want to bring them to the outside so that we can tie them here. So what we're going to do is, for both of them, we're going to put them through the next available hole to bring them out. We did that with the small toe side, and now we're going to do that with the big toe side. So the next available empty hole, we put it through. Now we have our 2 laces. We need to secure our boot so it's not going to fall off our feet while we're marching. We are going to do a simple reef's knot. So I like to do it left over, so this is our left tie, or shoelace, I should say, and this is our right. So left over right, we're going to make an X, and the left one that we used to cross over is going to go, it's going to swing around and go underneath the right one and through. And you're going to see a bit of a twist there. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So left, oh, sorry, opposites. We're going to do opposites. So it's going to be right over left, and you're going to get that X there. So right, it was the right, now it's coming over the left and making that X, and we're going to swing it around underneath, and it's going to come through that hole, or that eye as we like to call it, and through. And when you've done it right, of course it's going to be a little bit more snug because you want your boot to stay on, but for this purpose I'm doing it a little bit more loosely so that I can show you when you do a proper reef's knot, you should be able to push it and pull it, and it's not going to go anywhere. And that's how you tie it. And any extra ends that you may have, tuck in to your boot. And that's how you lace and tie your boot. Now we are going to get into the polishing and the care of the catwalk. So I'm going to show you first the kiwi, or the regular boot or parade polish way. Yeah, and don't wreck your tins, because it is very hard to open your tins after they get wrecked. But this is a very old tin, so I don't mind it getting wrecked. So polish, hot to warm water, and your kiwi cloth or polish cloth. So to start off with, I like to get it out, and I like to make an L with whatever hand I'm using, and then put my finger in whatever corner or piece of the polishing cloth that I'm using, and I make it so that the fabric on the pad of whatever finger I'm using is nice and flat, because that's where your polish is going to be when you collect it. And so I like to gather whatever polish or whatever cloth I have and twist it and just gather it in the rest of my hand to secure it. Because the last thing you need is like your cloth everywhere and you can't polish anything. Get in your way. And then what I like to do with my empty hand that has nothing, I put it inside my boot all the way up to my toe. And I do that for two purposes. One, I can move it any which direction I want, and I can look at my job as I'm going. Two is I can feel if there's any buildup or unwanted substances in my boot or in the inside seams of my boot, because it is very distracting, and it can also hurt if you guys have debris or rocks or dirt inside your boot, and it will distract you from what you're trying to learn or trying to do while you're on parade. So I like to take my kiwi cloth or my boot polish cloth, dip it in water, and then I like, usually when it's a fresh tin of polish, it'll be all one piece. So I like to focus or concentrate on one piece or one section of the tin and get a small amount of polish. And what I'll do is I'll just pick a place wherever I want to start. You can start wherever you want to, but you go in little circles, not big circles. When you're doing this method, you do little circles and small amounts of water at a time. If you use too much water and too much polish, it is going to take longer for you to do it. So small amounts in little circles. And it's going to start off, when you put the polish on there, it's going to start off cloudy. And when you have new boots, it is going to be cloudy or dull or a matte finish for a while. But with a boot polish, you are building up the layers of polish so that it gets to that mirror glass look where you can see your face in it. And you just keep polishing until it's nice and shiny and there's no cloudiness in it. If you get frustrated, just take a break, go get a snack, come back, and keep working on it. The more you work on it, the better it will get. But if for some reason you have a problem of you're shining it and you're getting nowhere, go to your DPO or your supply officer, and they will help troubleshoot from there. Looks like we might need a little bit more water. Yeah. There. And because there's still some water on there, I'm gonna get a little bit more polish. Because if you leave water on your boots, they will dry and leave water stains. You don't want water stains, especially when you're on parade. Okay, and you don't want to polish your catwalks either. But there are certain polishes out there that are made to be dull. And you will have to buy those either off of the internet or at your local military base Cadets, if there's one close by. Okay, so that's option 1 on how to polish your boots. Option 2, I'm showing you with boot cream. You don't need water for this. You just get a boot brush, I find is easiest, or you can use your boot polishing cloth, and you get a good amount of polish. You get a lot of polish, and you can do large circles or big circles. Or if you have a brush, you just brush your whole boot. And you want it to be a matte, dull finish. When you use boot cream, you let it dry and sit for about 10-15 minutes. And then what you do is, after it's done drying, then you take, this is the part where you do need your polishing cloth. You take it, and I find it's the easiest when you hold it at both ends, because then you can go back and forth, buffing out that boot cream. So I like to buff it out like that. And it may take a few times to get that shine that you want from boot cream. But as an officer myself, I like using this method because I'm always on the go. And they look presentable. Might not be able to see my face in it, but they do give a nice shine. And finally, for catwalks, if it's a new boot that's never been worn before, it's awesome. If you do have polish on your catwalks, use a hair dryer or a heat gun on the low setting. Also do this for stripping your boots if you have to, for a heat gun or a hair dryer on the lowest setting. And then what you do is, from a fair distance, you heat up the polish that you want to remove. And then the same thing with a cloth or a towel that your parents don't mind getting wrecked. You take off all that polish that you don't want. And then you can start over with the polish on the leather. But if it's on the catwalks, what I like to do to maintaining them is just simple water and toothbrush, because when getting the catwalks, I want to get in to the stitching that's there, because from the point that the polished leather ends to the bottom of this, to the edge of the bottom of the sole of the boot, that's what you want to be dull. And you don't want any dirt or any shining in there, because that will distract the eye of the inspector or the person that's inspecting you from the nice, fabulous polish job that you've been doing. So you want this to be dull. And what I like to do is just get some hot water. And if it's a really dirty area, I like to use dish soap or a mild cleaning soap of some kind. So I get the brush wet and I just get in there. I get cleaning. And I do all the way around. I get the front, I get the back, I get the sides. I'm not going to do it all because this is a video. But yeah, definitely get into all of the nooks and crannies. Also, a good thing to know with any boot care, because it is a natural product, any dust or dirt or grime that is on your boots, you get that off as soon as you can when you're at home, because if you have dirt or dust in these little crevices where the boot likes to bend a lot, the dirt and grime is going to act like sandpaper and chew and make holes in your boots if you have them long enough. And also, when you're polishing your boot, you make sure that you get every nook and cranny, thread, leather, and all. And that's all I have for you. If you guys have any more questions or want any more tips, feel free to ask me or your officer at your corps. And as always, if we don't know the answer, we'll help find it together. See you soon.